ask why can't I see at night? What is
A quick welcome on behalf of Ask a Scientist and Wonderfest, and to thank John and the Stanford Humanist Connection, is that the correct name, for partnering with us on this. It's fun to be down here. So I'm Juliana Gallen. I run Ask a Scientist. Tucker back there runs Wonderfest. Ask a Scientist and Wonderfest are both public science programs that have been running events like this, like fun, casual science events in the Bay Area for many years. You can find out about our upcoming events at askascientistsf.com and wonderfest.org. And if you signed up on the mailing list out there, you'll be able to find out about upcoming events right in your email inbox. Let's get the show started. So, he's performed all over the world on national television for 2 U.S. presidents and at the California State Prison, which is where we found him. So from the White House to the Big House to our house, Robert Strong.
Hey, look, I've got a volunteer in the crowd as well for this guy. Search him out. Hello, sir. What is your name?
Michael.
Michael. Excellent. And Michael, what do you do for a living?
I'm an attorney.
An attorney. Okay, and where are you from?
Marin County.
Marin County. Okay, Michael from Marin County, who is a attorney. Would you, let me tell you what we're going to do. I'm actually going to make this red handkerchief vanish magically, not from my hand, but from your left hand. So would you please hold out your left hand? Would I just ball up the hanky in this hand so I cannot say close, close, close? Get it all the way there. Don't cheat and use that. You turn your hand over. On the count of 3, it should be gone. You've got like a death grip, okay? That's not real magic. Just a trick, dude. Relax. Okay? Don't give it to me. It's still in there. Yes? Okay. So on 3, it'll vanish from your mind. It'll also vanish from your hand. So 1, 2, 3. Michael, turn over your hand. Open up. It should be gone. It didn't work. That's okay. I came prepared. Instead, I will shackle you up and see how long it takes you to escape. Welcome to Stanford. These are European shackles.
My wife has those.
Well, it just got dirty quick. There are children here, Michael. They're in college looking for their own pair. These are European shackles, the same shackles they still use in Europe nowadays. Shit. Well, European shackles are an 8-inch ring with 4 chains, 2 locks, and a key. The key's here just in case the trick does not work. Michael from Marin, would you lock my right hand in there? He does have a pair. Yeehaw, cowboy. Once you lock the lock, pull it and make sure it did indeed lock. I'd like you to do the same thing, but on the other side, Michael. Very good, but stay away from my watch. Some of the jokes are just for me, Michael. Once you lock the lock, pull it and make sure it did indeed lock. I'm about to do an escape illusion, like what Houdini used to do many years ago. Michael, the first thing I'd like you to do is I'd like you to face the audience. Michael, keep facing the audience, but step to my left side. I'll move to the right side. Perfect. Now, Michael, make sure you can see the clock, the big clock in the back of the room.
Yes.
You're going to time, or use your watch. Do you have a watch? Welcome to Stanford, Michael. Make sure I am still locked in there. Yes, Michael? Does your watch have a second hand? Hold it up so I can see it. Before we say go, and I'll start to escape. Michael, I'm still locked. Yes? Okay, cowboy. How many seconds is 1 second? It gets to the 12. Hold on to the key. Still locked. Yes, Michael?
Yes.
We'll do a countdown from 12. Get to 0, you say go, and I'll start to get out of these things. Michael, you get to keep that watch as a souvenir. You don't like that one? I have others to pick from. I've been working all night. So that, ladies and gentlemen, is a demonstration of things we're going to be talking about. But to start talking about these things, I'd like to introduce you to a new friend of mine, someone I'm learning a lot from. He teaches or professors at UCSF. He's a researcher there also. He's an MD and PhD in neuroscience. The first time we gave this talk was September 3rd or 4th, and the very next day, his article in Nature magazine, he found out he got the cover story for Nature magazine. So the day of the presentation, he was talking with the BBC and NPR, and he was talking with Wall Street Journal, New York Times, all that. Very busy man, a very smart man. Please put your hands together for your neuroscientist tonight, Adam Gazzaley.
So we have to project, right? That's the basic.
I ruined everything, sorry.
That bowling ball trick was powerful.
Yes.
It's a great pleasure to be here. As Robert said, we're new friends and trying to figure our way through this really exciting world where neuroscience meets magic. We can see there's a lot of interest. We're packed. We're a standing room double deep here. So we know that there's a lot of interest in this domain. We're going to take you on a tour through it today from our perspective of having worked together now for just a couple months and spending a lot of time with Robert coming down to my lab, where we essentially go through some of the illusions that Robert does, and then I view it from my perspective. We try to classify it and help you understand it. Magic is a fascinating, it's one of the most powerful forms of performance art. It's been practiced for thousands of years. And the really amazing thing is that magicians have been performing magic really through cleverness, intuition, and a lot of trial and error, but not really knowing exactly what was happening in the brain that allowed their illusions to be so powerful. It's only really over the last several decades, and just even more recently, that neuroscientists and psychologists have been working with magicians to try to understand why these illusions are so powerful, so convincing. And through that, we are actually learning a lot more about how the brain works. Because when an illusion takes place, we understand a little better the mechanisms about how our brain works and how it can be deceived. And likewise, we can contribute, hopefully, to the understanding that magicians bring to their art and allow them to continue to develop it. So these type of interactions are really valuable for both of us, and hopefully for you as well. So we're going to take you through, like I said, a tour of how the brain perceives magic and how illusions occur. But first, we want to start with some definitions in terms of illusions. So there are really three types of illusions. They're all slightly different, and before we dive into what happens to the brain, we want to start by breaking them down one at a time. So the general pattern of what we're going to do today is we're going to introduce a concept, just briefly. You're going to see an example of it through magic, then I'm going to pull it apart, tease it out a bit, and help you understand it. Then we'll probably see another example, and then just keep moving through. So why don't we start with optical illusions?
Okay. So this is something you've seen before. You may have noticed it, may have not noticed it. Something that happens maybe 7-year-old science class is the bending pencil illusion. And now, move my hand, pencil appears to bend. Thank you.
Starting slow with these. You don't see a lot of optical illusions performed in shows. But they really are frequently considered sort of the classic smoke and mirrors. And how these work are basically due to physics, right? They have nothing to do with your brain. Even a computer analyzing the displacement in space of the pencil here and here would think that they're different. And that's because there's different refraction indices of these two media, the air and the water. Likewise, reflections will change how things are perceived. And these are used in magic shows to some degree, but they're in some forms the lowest level of magic. It doesn't really require any skills. They're purely performed, they're purely created by physics. So now we advance up one level. We want to show you
Arrows on them. Who thinks that the arrow to your right is shorter? Raise your hand. I know! You're so smart at getting hold of us. How many people think that this one is shorter? How many people know that they're equal? Yes. That's what happens when you talk at Stanford and not a bunch of
So there's the evidence right there. That's the only trick I get to perform, so thank you. So this is not an optical illusion, right? Because For example, a computer that was analyzing the length of these vertical lines would know that they were the same whether or not the ends of the arrows were there. So this is something that is more precisely referred to as a visual illusion, right? So this is not a physics trick. It's a trick of perception. And we're going to have Robert show you a couple more, and then we're going to sort of break down what that is.
Sure, and the first, the one with the arrows is often misdiagnosed or misrepresented. People call it optical illusion. Technically, it starts to move into the territory of visual illusion, which we do now. And I know there are some magicians in the audience. I will be teaching some of the magic. So you're all sworn in as official magicians. You're here to learn. And the first one I'm going to teach you is the rubber pencil. The pencil appears to be rubber, but oh no, it's solid. Thank you.
It's probably not large enough, but this would look to be moving if it was quite large. And so what you saw there was an example of a visual illusion, right? So the physics was not what deceived you. What deceived you that made it look rubber was your brain. And technically not your entire brain, but really the sensory regions of your brain. In this case, the visual cortex. And we're going to dive into the brain in a couple of other slides. But what this is an example of would be a sensory illusion, a visual illusion, and what it's caused by is the fact that your brain does not reproduce reality. Your brain gives an interpretation of reality, and that's what we call perception. So perception and sensation are different. Every interaction you have with the world is really nothing more than an interpretation. And what your brain does when it receives sensory information is that it diverges it, it converges it, it enhances it, it suppresses it, it pulls out the edges, it pulls out motion. It allows you to interpret the world very rapidly. But because it does that, it makes certain interpretive decisions. So for example, if there is a box, right, like this, we're going to do it.
Yeah, we use this.
This is again a very simple trick. You don't see me as cut in half, right? This is something, you see the preservation of the perceptual illusion, essentially, that I'm complete. So our ability to complete, our ability to preserve information once it's gone for short periods of time, allowing a projector to work like this, even though this is not a continuous image here. It's basically images that are stitched together that your eye is perceiving as continuous. So again, the main advantage of our brain's ability to perceive the world is that it allows us to interpret things very quickly. For example, faces. But it presents certain fragilities in terms of those interpretations, and that's what is presented as visual illusions. Now, we have another?
Yeah, and I want to kind of segue into that. The very first film ever made was made by a magician. I believe it was The Horse Galloping. I think that was it. And what's happening is a persistence of vision. I'm going to talk about it a little bit. I have a degree in filmmaking. So what happens is film is anywhere from 16, 24, even 30 frames per second. And moving those images together gives you an illusion that the object is actually moving. That's what we do. And a lot of these kind of visual illusions are exactly that. It's persistence of vision. The magicians use that to our benefit. Here I have something that I want to share with you. The hypnotist spiral. You may have seen this before. What I'm going to ask is for about 30 seconds is for all of you to stare right at the center of the spiral. Try not to be distracted or to take your eyes off of the center of the spiral. Keep your focus in the dead center of the spiral. Try not to look away. Feel free to blink. Breathe naturally. I'm going to count down from 10. And when I get to 0, I'd like to ask everyone to look at the point of my nose. Keep your eyes on the center of the spiral. 10. Do not look away. 9. 8. 7. 6. 5. 4. 3. 2. 1. You all look so silly when I did that. Now what I'm doing is I'm going to reverse the direction of the drill. And if you didn't see it the first time, look for it the second time. Something different is going to happen. Please put your focus onto the center of the spiral. We're going to hold it for about 30 seconds. Try to look at the center. Use your peripheral vision to see the whole spiral, but keep your focus on the center. Try not to look away. Breathe naturally. I'm going to count down from 10. When I get to 0, I'd like you to look again at the center of my nose and see what happens this time. 10. Keep your focus there. 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. That's weird.
It's very nice. So, normally visual illusions don't always get such applause because, as you can see, they're really tricks that our cortex, the visual part of our brain, pulls on us, and they're very frequently used to complement what you are most familiar with, which are cognitive illusions.
So now I'd like to do a cognitive illusion, and this is one of the ones I will teach you. And what it is the one of these is going to disappear, and if you can't see, it's okay. Through my explanation, you'll understand exactly what's happening. I have a carabiner that I use to carry my keys on, and I've got my car key here. One of these two objects is going to vanish, but you get to choose. Sir, would you like me to make the carabiner vanish, or would you like me to make the car key vanish? Which one? Pick one. Just one. And say it out loud. It's a free choice. Car key. Okay, the car key. It's going to vanish on the count of 3. So if you can see it, you can see the silver of it. Keep your eyes on 3. Keep your eyes on the car key. It's going to vanish right from my hand. 1, 2, 3. Oh, the pencil's gone. That's okay. And, when I teach magic, this is one of the first magic tricks I teach. And it combines a couple things. We're talking about focus and attention, which Adam will talk about from a neuroscience point of view. So all this is a rouge. It doesn't matter which one you choose, right? Just for humor. And I said, I'm going to make it disappear. Keep your eye on the carabiner this time. So the pencil is actually going to go behind the ear. But I'm keeping your focus here. I'm controlling your focus. So I say on 3. 1, 2. This time watch the pencil. 3. It's gone. I look there. You look there. I go, where is it? I look up there. You look up there. And I go, that's where it is. Now watch the other hand. Do that one more time so people can kind of follow the action. This time the key will vanish. Keep your focus on the key. Not really. 1, 2. Pencil goes behind the ear. 3. I look. That's where you look. I look, where could it be? That's where you look. I go, aha, that's where it is. That's where you look. The other hand does the dirty work. Out of the focus. I come back, and your expectation is that the car key and the carabiner would be there.
So that generates most of the applause, right? That is a higher order illusion, and that's because it involves higher order areas of the brain. That's what we're going to spend the rest of our time talking about. So we got these out of the way. They're part of the education to understand that there are many different types of illusions. But that illusion involves more than the visual areas of the brain, like the last one, but involves probably a good aspect of the entire cortex, starting from the front to the parietal. We'll break this down a little bit as we move through the talk.
Okay, yeah, I'm going to do a cognitive illusion I'm not going to explain, so you can see what it actually feels like to be fooled by a cognitive illusion. Let me get a volunteer, someone I do not know. Let's see, you're dying to come up here. Sir, have we met before?
No.
What is your name?
Adnan?
That is correct. Adna, where are you from? Here? Or
I'm from Cupertino.
Cupertino. And what do you do for a living?
I'm a college student.
Abna, would you come up on stage? A big round of applause for Abna, everyone. Abna, what are you studying?
I'm a double major in nursing and philosophy.
Nursing and philosophy, excellent. Good combination. I've got 52 different cards here. I'm going to have you pick a secret card. First, I'm going to give it a little shuffle. And then another shuffle. Abna, I'd like you to pick a secret card. You're the only one that gets to see it. Would you please pick that card by saying the word stop as I go through the deck?
Stop.
And I'll let anybody see the card. Abna, memorize the card. Keep it close to your chest. Cards are all different. makes it easy if they're all the same. Abna, I'm going to try to read your mind, so I'm going to want you to concentrate on the card you selected, and I'm going to try to draw it, okay? We're going to start with the color, move down to the suit, which is hearts, spades, diamonds, or clubs, and then we're going to end with the number. Okay? Focus. Okay, good. Okay, I'm committed. Abna, the name of the card is the 3 of diamonds.
Incorrect.
The card is a 3. A diamond. It's red. Abna, you study philosophy, you study nursing. You should know that things are not always as they appear, and you should never take things at face value. Sometimes the magic's right in front of you, and it takes a moment to see it. Watch closely. What was your card?
And a heart.
So Robert's not going to reveal that one. You're going to learn some things today, but not everything. So cognitive illusions, how do they take place? So the main 2 influences that drive these type of illusions are these phenomena that we're going to tease apart now, known as top-down and bottom-up. So everything you perceive in the world is subject to an influence of these 2 forces. So let's start with bottom-up.
You are faster than me. That's okay. I can be ready in just a moment. Got it. Ladies and gentlemen, I am inventing a trick for you right now to demonstrate bottom up. It is the world famous vanishing lighter trick. I'd like everyone to keep their eyes on the lighter. Gone.
All right, so this was a demonstration to bring up the very powerful aspect of bottom-up. So before I described to you that perception is an interpretation, and one of the things that influences that interpretation is the environment itself. So things that are very salient, like fire, or very novel, or just important to you personally, like your name. Even if you hear very quietly behind you, you will direct your attention independent of your goals. So this force is so powerful that it demands our attention and overrides everything else we're doing. It's a critical part of our survival, right? If you did not have bottom up, you probably wouldn't be able to make it across the street or make it through an entire day. So this force, which has been, in some ways evolving longer than top down, I'll tell you about that in a second, is really something that you can see across every animal, and it's a very primitive part of our nervous system. And it is frequently exploited or capitalized on by magicians and illusions to take advantage of your bottom-up influence. So you saw there the strong, powerful stimulus that you would attend to pretty much no matter what you were doing. So this can be used to direct your attention against your will using just the power of the environmental stimulus alone.
Yeah, I've got another demonstration of bottom up. Before I do, I don't know if you heard that. Listen, I think it was a long drive. Listen. What it is a plastic cup. So, what's interesting about this is your brain makes an association between the movement of me tipping my neck to the side and the sound, that it actually interrupts everything you're thinking about, and you connect it. Now I'm going to show you, watch, how powerful that is. I'm actually going to place the cup under my armpit like that, and listen closely, crack my neck. And even though you know it's a cup, your brain still needs to make that connection. It's a very powerful thing. Now I'm going to do a demonstration of bottom up, an illusion that demonstrates bottom up, and I'm not going to teach it to you. It's one of the oldest illusions in magic. I'm sure you've seen it before. It's a crowd pleaser. This is my interpretation, ladies and gentlemen. of the miracle of the Chinese linking rings. Okay, the miracle is that they link and unlink. It happens very fast, so watch closely. Wrong spot. You gotta find it, and then they link. Okay, sometimes a cold night like this, the friction, this is the beautiful part. Solid through solid. Oh, it's just yeah. You gotta use a little force. Oh. That's it. That's okay. It's okay, I came prepared. I brought along a pair of scissors. What we'll do is we'll cut the fabric on the chair, and then we'll do the illusion of... It's okay, I came prepared. I have one of these. You know what this is? I'll fall through the... I'm sorry, ladies and gentlemen, I can't seem to do the miracle. Oh, I did it!
So you'll have to just take the word for it that was powerfully driven by bottom-up influences that were pulling your attention against your will, allowing Robert to create that illusion. The other very, very powerful force on our perception that's used by magicians all the time is top-down. So we have over here the brain, the human brain. This is the front part of the brain. So if I was standing like this would be over here. What this part is the visual cortex. So when you see anything in the world around you, the information comes through your retina, stops in the middle of the brain, the thalamus, and then gets processed in the visual area. And so when the processing occurs here, independent of any influence, we could think of that as bottom-up. There's this hierarchical processing of information throughout the visual system. It occurs for the auditory system, the sensory system, somatosensory system, which is touch, as well for smell. And so all of them have the power of bottom-up, as I'm sure you're aware if you just think across your lives. What we're talking about here now is top-down. And we're going to give an example of that, then I'm going to dive in a little bit.
Okay, so we're talking about using the brain. I'm going to do an experiment, a demonstration of using the power of my brain to change an object that I'm holding. So I'd like to ask everyone to bring their focus. Oh, okay, good. Bring your focus back over here. And try to keep your eye on the spoon. And I'd like everyone to start to think warm thoughts. That's what I'm doing here. You know, hot thoughts. And now fiery thoughts. I want you to imagine the spoon getting warmer. That's what I'm doing now. I'm starting to feel it actually heat up. It's more than body heat. Keep your focus. You said? You're a yeller, yeah. You just dated yourself. I know. Well, here's what it is I took the time to buy a hinge from the hardware store and solder it in there. So it's just basically a hinge. Right there like that. So if you want to recreate the illusion of bringing it back, now this is not how actual spoon benders do it. This is how I'm doing it. But I'm giving the illusion of using my brain. And what's actually going on for you is there's an assumption, even now that you know there's a hinge on it, there's an assumption that spoons don't have hinges. So when you do something that's counter to your assumption, it feels so strong and powerful that you make the association that it's got to be real, it's got to be magic, it's got to be the power of the brain, it's got to be something bigger than all of us here. But it's no, this one is just a hinge.
So that brings us to top down. So this is in some ways the highest level of illusions, because now your attention is not being pulled by something powerful in the environment like fire or clanking or your name, but it's being pulled just by your own goals. And so what we know is that the human brain in particular has this part known as the prefrontal cortex, which is in essence the most evolved part of our brains, the part that makes us most human. And how it functions is that these areas over here send connections throughout the brain in something that we call neural networks, and then acts to modulate the activity based on your goals. So if something is relevant to you, you actually have more activity in the visual part of your brain because of these connections than if something is irrelevant to you. And it's top down that allows us to navigate the very complex world that we live in based on our goals. And that's why, as humans, we're capable of doing amazing things like creating society, building technology, language. It's because we have this control over how we interpret the world. And so that's what top-down is. Now, top-down has this other amazing property, is that it allows us to form impressions before things occur, something that we call expectation or anticipation. As a matter of fact, how your brain operates is that it's constantly living in the future. So before an event occurs, you've already processed what is going to happen based on your previous experience, on your expectations. This allows us to act very rapidly in the world. You use it all the time. Most of the time you're not thinking about it. When you reach over, you're talking to someone and you reach for something to drink, you're making the assumption that it's not going to move. Even when things are moving, you're planning the rate of acceleration of a car that allows you to cross the street and not be hit. In conversation, because you know about language and you've been hearing it your whole life, you can predict what the next word is going to be. Same thing with music. A lot of the appreciation of music involves this, such as rhythm, which is based on expectation. So it's this part of our brain, the prefrontal cortex, that creates those expectations, allows us to interact with the world based on our goals. And so if your goals are being directed by someone as clever and as talented as Robert, then you can be deceived in many more ways than you can just through bottom-up or through those other type of illusions. So that's what we're going to really dive on for the rest of the talk, is these type of higher-order top-down illusions.
And I've got an illusion that demonstrates top-down. I'd like to borrow, you'll get it back, I'd like to borrow a $100 bill. Students laughed. Who's got it? You have one? Anyone have one? Oh, you do? Great. Would you or somebody bring that $100 bill up so we can use it, please? Say goodbye, he says. Hi, what's your name? Armin. Armin, you are up close and personal. You see that I have no other $10 bills in my hands.
Yeah.
Get a magic marker, Armand. Is it Armand? Armand?
Yeah.
Armand? Is that either way?
Either way is fine.
Either way is fine. Okay. Armand, would you write your name nice and big on the face of the $100 bill? You can use this surface right here.
God we trust.
In God we trust, she says. At the Humanist Connection. Awesome. Now is a good time to tell Armand it's a federal offense to write on money. We now have your signature. Show everybody your signature, please. I'll take the pen. Now, your job is to keep your eyes on the money. I'm going to invite you to come over this side. Do not be distracted or misdirected. I may look somewhere else, but keep your focus actually on the money. Chris, new $100 bill with Benjamin Franklin with Armand's name on it. You can still see the 100 in the corner. The empty hand goes into the table and grabs a peel and stick envelope. You keep your eyes on the money. I place the $100 bill into the corner, like so. And I do the peeling and sticking. I wrinkle this envelope. It's very important that I wrinkle one of the 3 envelopes because the other 2 are identical with the exception of no money in it. The game is called Find the Money. See how much you can keep your focus on the envelopes. Point to an envelope, Armand, that does not have the money. I hope you're confident because I also travel with a portable paper shredder. I call it the Bernie Madoff. Armand's going to keep his eyes on the other 2 envelopes. Okay, all went well. I'm not there. Here. 2 envelopes left. I'm going to give them a shuffle. You dropped some money when you came up here. Is that yours? Now I don't even know. Armand, point to the envelope that does not have the money. 6 seconds to open this envelope up, take out the $100 bill, confirm that it has a $100 bill in it, take it out, unfold it. It got stuck, that's never a good sign. There it goes, it's all good. We say the magic words. New magic words. I'm sorry. We try again. Go get another 100. Things are about to get weird. Armand, before the show started, I placed an orange bag up here on the chalkboard. That orange bag has been there since before the show started. Inside that orange bag is a $100 bill with a name on it. Is your name. Would you grab that orange bag, bring it center stage, pull it open, reach and grab out that $100 bill, confirm that it has your name on it, your handwriting, and get the thunderous applause you deserve. A Twinkie, that would have been really cool. And Armand is the world's most expensive Twinkie. $100. They don't make them anymore. You can sell it on eBay. You know what's inside Twinkies? Yes. How are you feeling? And $100 bills. Pick one side, make sure both sides are sealed, Armand. Open it up just a little. We don't want to make a mess at Stanford. Perfect. I reach into the Twinkie covered in cream and cake and all that goodness. There's a little green piece of paper. I think you can see that now. See that? Not only is it a $100 bill, is that your handwriting?
That is
Where's George? Yes.
So if top-down is the most evolved part of our brains that allow us to interact in the world and allow you to be deceived in quite a powerful way like that, we have to then think about, well, what in our brains are not as evolved? And this is something that we've been studying in our lab for a while. And what we realize is that there are some very distinct limitations of our brain. Not every part of our brain has evolved as much as our prefrontal cortex and our top-down abilities. As a matter of fact, there are 3 aspects of how our brain works that have not evolved very much at all. Even if you look at most other animals, you'll see that some of them are advanced to us in these domains, or at least not very different. And these limitations, just like magicians can capitalize on our top-down abilities to create illusions, they can also take advantage of our limitations. So we're going to talk about 3 of them: processing speed, working memory, and attention. So why don't we start with processing speed?
So here's a demonstration of how magicians exploit the fact that exploit your processing speed, its limitations. Watch closely. The 4 of diamonds. It vanishes, and then it appears. I'll do it one more time. Keep your eyes on the 4 of diamonds. It vanishes, and then reappears. Adam. Save enough, let it accumulate to the end, okay?
So, our brains, when you look at a single neuron, which are the functional units, the cells inside the brain, we find that there's very rapid processing. So events there occur on the order of a millisecond, which is 1,000th of a second. So it's very, very rapid. However, the brain doesn't work in terms of these isolated islands, neurons, or even groups of neurons. It works as a vast interconnected network. And so when you are doing something complex, like witnessing that trick, there are many different processes that occur. Your attention, remember the signals from the prefrontal cortex all the way to the visual cortex. There's both spatial information coming from the parietal cortex and object information coming from the temporal lobe. So when the brain is operating as a network, each of those stages of communication require the passage of information, and that adds up. And it creates processing times that could be in the order of hundreds of milliseconds or even a half a second. That may sound fast to you, but when you see something like that occur, like what Robert just did, you realize how processing speed is actually a limitation. And we have it in many different ways. It's just quite apparent over here. So I'm going to show you a little bit more about processing speed.
So I'm going to actually break that down and show you what's going on, and then you get to see it again. And if there's any magicians, I think they might agree. You can talk to me afterwards. We can change the presentation. But you might agree that it gives you more appreciation for what you're doing. See, guys, thanks for coming. No, it's okay. Okay. Watch closely. The small motion is this. Show it to you from the other side. The small motion is this. Now in magic, there's a concept called big motion covers small motion. The big motion is this. It's impossible for your eyes to see the small motion when it's covered by the big motion. So you can see this when I'm not doing the big motion. Oh, thank you. You need to get out more, but thank you. I think you even have a little more appreciation when you see a magician make whole decks of cards and doves and all those things up here. We had another demonstration that I won't share. It's a demonstration of processing speed. What I'm going to ask is everyone to keep their eyes on the far end of the handkerchief, and on 3, 2, 1. Because of the limitations of your processing speed, you cannot possibly figure out how that works. Now what I'd like to do is, and Tucker, is the music still ready on the sound system? The music part, did you unplug the microphones but leave the music plugged in? Because I want to do a demonstration with music in about a minute or two, so please don't rush. I'd like to do something that involves processing speed. I want everyone to sit on the edge of your chair, watch as closely as possible, see if you can catch what's going on. This is called the miracle of the vanishing water trick. It's something I've been working on. Hope you like it. Processing speed you couldn't possibly see it unless we slowed it down.
Yeah, why don't we do that again?
Want to see it again?
Yeah, let's do it again.
We're doing slow motion. Louder! Da, da, da. Everyone! So that's what happens when you slow tricks down.
So we've been working on that trick for months.
About 18 months at the California State Prison.
All right, so we're going to move on to another type of limitation. This one is known as working memory.
Oh yeah, I know exactly this. I need a volunteer. There's some kids here. Let's get a young person up. Any young people like to come up and help out? Younger. Hi, what's your name? Thea? A big round of applause for Thea. How old are you? 9. That's what I was when I was your age. Yeah, I've got 52 different cards here. Clearly, they're all different, correct? You know all the cards: hearts, spades, diamonds, clubs. Yes, you know ace, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, jack, queen, king. Yes, okay. I'm going to bring the cards over here to the little tabletop. And Thea, I'd like to ask you to cut the cards so that there's 2 piles. Close to even is optimal. I'm going to ask you to rotate a little bit so people can see your front and not your back. Perfect, Thea. We now have 2 piles. Would you cut the cards again so that there's 4 piles, please? Nicely done. Perfect. Perfect. Thea, I'd like to ask you to point to any 2 of the 4 piles, please. Any 2. Perfect. 2 piles left. please point to any one of the 2 piles, please. Keep your finger on the top card. Look at me, concentrate on what might be under your finger, Thea. It's a red card. It's a diamond. It's a large card. Like a jack, queen, or king. I'm going to go with king. King of diamonds. Look at the top card. Show it to everyone. Another round of applause for Thea. Thank
you. Working memory is your ability to hold information in mind for very short periods of time to then guide your actions. So it's not long-term memory where you remember something, you see something, you remember it the next day, a month later, a year later. It's just information that you hold online. So this example is probably going to be totally irrelevant soon. It might already be there. But who's used a phone like this? Do you remember that? So there was a time, for the younger people in the audience, there was a time in history where we sometimes had to hold phone numbers in our minds for long enough to get them into the phone. If someone told them to you now, that doesn't occur. It just appears like magic on your phone when they call you. But that ability to hold information in mind is sort of classically described as in terms of holding a phone number. There's something that I can't tell if it's an urban legend or actually a piece of technology history, that the phone number is 7 digits long because that is how long the average adult's working memory span is, which is true. So a lot of people think that we have a working memory of 7. But that's not entirely true because our working memory is dependent on the complexity of the information. So something like digits, 7, true. And you could vary, be 5, 8, 9, people could train this. But for things that are more complex, like words, it could be 3, 5, complex objects, 2, even something as, and certainly something as complicated as a human face, maybe only holding one piece of information in mind. So working memory is critical. I'll use it all the time. The other common examples, when you engage in a conversation, someone says something to you, you want to say something back, there's someone else involved in the conversation, so you have to sort of hold what you have in mind just for a short period of time, and so you use this all day long. Our working memory has this very distinct limitation, and that has not changed very much. So when we study animals in the lab and look at working memory, we see quite comparable limitations. And so this is a very distinct limitation that prevents us from doing certain acts in the world that we're going to talk about next. And it's another type of ability, another type of limitation that magicians can take advantage of when they create illusions.
Yeah, and Tucker? I just figured out it's a grounding problem. The sound system. Yeah, the sound system. It's a grounding problem. It has nothing to do with the microphone, the receiver, transmitter, or anything like that. Somehow, between when we tested and now, we lost the ground.
Did it have to do with the bowling ball?
No, I don't think it could. Just really.
That might have been your most amazing.
So I'm going to reveal the card pile trick. I call it the card pile trick. It's something I invented because I often teach magic, and what this does is it exploits your working memory. I am giving you too much information so that when you work backwards, you cannot remember exactly, reconstruct it in a precise way. So when Thea came up here, I said, I've got 52 different cards here. I casually looked at the top card. This time it happens to be the 3 of clubs. I remembered that. And then I placed the cards down and I asked Thea to cut the cards into 2 piles. She cut them. And I now remember which one has the 3 of clubs. Not this one, but this one. I asked her to cut them into 2 more piles. When she did that, I remember that this one has the 3 of clubs. So probably at this point, she has forgotten that maybe I glimpsed the top card. Then I asked her to point to 2 of the 4 piles. That completely throws another wrench in there, so she's not thinking that one of these is the top card. She's not thinking which ones to point to. This is the one that I want to remain. So if she points to these 2, I remove these 2. If she points to these 2, I remove these 2. If she points to these 2, I keep them. If she points to these, I keep them. If she points to these, I keep them. If she points to these, I remove them. I have 2 piles left. She has a free choice. She can point to either of the 2 piles. If she points to this one, do I keep it or remove it? Remove it. If she points to this one, do I keep it or remove it? Keep it. I ask her to put her hand on the card, to look at me, to concentrate, and the rest is showmanship, a stage presentation. It is just creating a theater piece around it, and I say, it's got to be the 3 of clubs, because that's your personality type. She lifts it up, and she goes, oh my goodness, wow, you can see into the future, or read my mind, or predict things, yeah.
So the last type of limitation in our brain that we're going to talk about and give a couple of examples. This is maybe the most frequently exploited, and that's our attention, in particular distributed attention.
Oh, let me demonstrate that. An ordinary deck of cards. I know we're the magicians now. I've got the 6 of diamonds. Keep your eyes on the 6 of diamonds. You bring your focus up here and I rub it on my sleeve. Something magical happens. It actually changes from the 6 of diamonds to the King of Hearts.
So, attention can be either looked at as our strength or a weakness. So, attention is very frequently described like this, as a spotlight. That example, that description has been used in psychology for a very long time. And what that means is that we could focus our attention like a spotlight depending on where our goals are leading us. So a classic example to understand this is known as the cocktail party effect. So who here has heard of the cocktail party effect? So there's a lot of people. Happens when you give a talk on a college campus. So the cocktail party effect is when you are having a conversation with someone at a party and you decide that you're not very interested in what they're saying anymore, but you feel it's rude to just walk away and turn away. So instead, you just move your attention over to this part of the room where something more interesting is going on. Has anyone ever done that? So you can really move your attention around the room like a spotlight. You can move it visually, right? So you can look over here, even without moving your eyes. You can listen over here. And we now know that your ability to perceive is heightened depending on where you move your attention. You can move it overtly, which is when you move your eyes and move your ears, or you can move it covertly. And that's when you just decide that you want to move your attention and you can move it around. So that's an amazing part of how our brain works, is this focused attention, the ability to selectively target where your goals are. But the flip side of it is that when you move your attention away from the person you're talking to, you can no longer hear them, right? And so if they finally decide that maybe you're not listening to them and they question you, you will be left without knowing what's going on. That happens all the time. And it really shows us that our attention is a powerful tool of focus, but it also is a limitation. We cannot throw our attention out like a net. You can't focus on everything in the room at the same time. It also leads you to other, very complicated issues. For example, people walking down the street talking on cell phones. Has anyone ever done this? There was this confusion of why you would walk into something as walking down the street when your eyes are still on the road. And the reality is that your eyes can be on the road, but your brain might not be. And so this is a very, very distinct limitation that is frequently exploited, as you saw an example there. We'll give you a little bit more of that.
Sure. As a magician, what I have is an acute awareness. You guys, thanks for coming. I have an acute awareness of where your gaze and your attention is. So a lot of times I can have your full gaze, but control your attention where it goes. So you can be looking right at what I'm doing and not be able to see it, even though your eyes are right on it, because I am moving your attention to where I want it to be. We'll talk about how I do that a little bit later. So I'm going to reveal the color-changing card this time. This is the 6 of diamonds. Come on in and get a good seat. Yeah, come on in and get a good seat, young lady. Keep your eyes on the 6 of diamonds. When I take it and I rub it on my sleeve, it magically changes to the King of Hearts. The way I do that is it's 2 cards. What I do is I hold it very casually as 1 card. I never say I have 1 card, but I say I have the 6 of diamonds. I place both cards down, and then even though I have your gaze, I bring your attention over here to do nothing. And I peel off 1 card. I call the 6, and this time it changes to the King of Hearts. So I'm going to do that one more time, and hopefully this is something you can learn. And for your friends and family, it's Thanksgiving time. You'll be sitting around the Thanksgiving table. We'll run out of conversation and say, hey, I want to show you a magic trick. This is something that's very easy to do for small hands also. I bring your attention over here, and then when I come back, you're surprised that it changes. Yeah. Now let's do another one. Here, I'm going to do something that's the same thing where I'm controlling your attention, but I'm not going to reveal this one. What I need is a volunteer. This time, let's get a lady up here. Hi, I saw your hand first. Would you come on up? You are perfect. What is your name? Again? Batika? With a V like Victor, Batika? Yes, a big round of applause for Batika. Hi, Batika. I'd like to think of something that I couldn't possibly know. Have you ever had cats or dogs in your life? I want you to think of a name of a cat or dog, a neighbor's cat or dog. It can be a friend's cat or dog. It can be one from a book, a movie. Once you've got one, lock it in your mind. Do you have it? Okay, that was fast. Okay. Batika, do you go to school here? What do you study? Business school. Excellent. Batika, I want you to write the name of this cat or dog in secret. Nice and big on this post-it note. In a few minutes, we're going to show it to everyone, but for now it's secret. So I'm going to ask you to go where nobody sees you. There's no reflection. There's no video cameras. You can hide there. Oh, yeah, you were just all relaxed over there. I'm going to place a rubber band on the wall. If that's a Sharpie, open that up. Take a great big sniff. No drug testing in school. Put out your right hand, please. Place your left hand on top. Concentrate now. Breathe. Look at me. Concentrate on the name. This is a dog, am I correct? It's a small dog, yes? It's a big dog, yes? I'm getting male, is that correct? Male?
Did you want to speak to
Name, right, yeah. Okay. It's a male dog, yes? Big dog, male. Spots? Okay, concentrate on the name. Say it over and over again in your head, but don't move your lips. 3 syllables. It's not an ordinary name for a dog. It starts with the letter D, am I correct?
Yes.
I'm getting the letter E, T. I'm getting N, Y, M, I. There's an E in it too. I think I'm getting the right letters. The order is wrong. Is that correct? It's weird. Focus. D-Y-N, dynamite.
Yes.
Is that what you wrote?
Yes.
There it is.
So, quite amazing. Okay, so we talked about top-down, and we talked about the limitations of the brain. The most evolved part of our brain is our top-down, our ability to direct our cognition, our resources, where our goals are. And these limitations are present. They have not evolved very much. So what happens when top-down and our limitations collide with each other? You wind up with this, interference. Interference is everywhere. It's a fragility of every complex system, and our brains are the most complex system in the known universe. So it's not surprising that we have interference or noise in our brains. It impacts your everyday life. We'll talk about some of it, but it is a powerful tool of magicians. So let's focus on one type of interference known as distraction.
My pleasure. I'd like to distract you. What's your name? Oh, she's no. Okay, you're safe. You're safe. Would you come on up? What's your name? Adelaide. A big round of applause for Adelaide. Adelaide, I'd like you to have a seat right here, and I'd like you to face that pole. Can you do that, please? Adelaide, I'd like you to place your fingers in the air like so, and then point them to each other. Have it here. Perfect. I can lower just a little bit. Adelaide, we talked about focus and attention. What I'd like to ask you to do is keep your focus and attention on this piece of paper, not this one. There's 2 ways I can make this disappear. The first way is called using real magic. The second way is called using sleight of hand. Which way do you think I'm going to use? Watch closely. I place it on the left hand, I tap it like that, it vanishes. That's sleight of hand. I will do it faster. I will do it in slow motion so that way you can see. Now they can see it, but from your point of view, it actually looks like it goes in that hand. Am I correct? Now I'm going to try to use real magic. Watch closely. Keep your focus here. I place it When you tap, it actually shoots up the back of my sleeve and vanishes. Let's do it again. May I have some more, please? This time we're going to get a little bit more, so it's a little bit bigger, and I would like you to watch very closely. Place this down again. My pleasure. I'm going to use sleight of hand the first time. They can see where it goes. This time I'm going to try to use real magic. You lean in here, watch very closely. Good. Tap, tap. You tap, that's usually when the magic happens. Tap, tap, please. When you tap, did you see it go that time from? You think it's like, I'll tell you what, feel for it. No, okay, keep your focus here. Okay, this is much bigger. Okay, watch it. No further, you gotta really get it out. This hand is clearly empty. This hand is clearly empty, okay? Keep your focus there on 3, 2, 1, and it just appears. This is an example of distraction.
I'm a magician. Neuroscience was the end of it for me, but no, I didn't need a backstage hand. It's great. Okay, so distractions are a very, very powerful form of interference. We define them in the lab as irrelevant information that degrades our performance. So the point of distractions are that they are independent of your goals, but they surround us. So the classic example is the restaurant scene, right? So you're in a restaurant, having a conversation with a group of people, and all you're trying to do, a side focus, is to block out all of the chatter around you. And your ability to suppress that information is directly related to how well you remember what's going on. So that's what my lab has been working on for many years, showing that the suppression is actually a bigger predictor. Your ability to suppress irrelevant information is a bigger predictor of your working memory than your focus on the relevant information. So the focus is actually pretty constant across trials if you do it many times. It's pretty similar between a 20-year-old and a 60-year-old. The biggest difference between the ages and the thing that varies over many trials is your ability to ignore. So ignore and focus, what we've shown in our lab, are not two sides of the same coin. When you're focusing better, it does not mean that you are ignoring better. They're independent processes. They're both active processes that both have to be online in order for you to accomplish something at a very high level. So what we've shown is that older adults have what we call a suppression deficit. That means they do not filter irrelevant information as efficiently as a younger person. And these are healthy 60 to 80-year-olds, even independent of anything like Alzheimer's disease. It's just a change that occurs with our brain. And when that happens, irrelevant information gets in and it degrades what you can attend to. We know that it's not just blocking out irrelevant information. What we found after that was it's not that older adults don't filter information, they don't filter it rapidly enough. And by rapidly enough, I mean within a tenth of a second. So when a younger person, a 20-year-old, does one of our experiments and we're recording their brain activity while they do it, and they have something to remember, and then we present them something irrelevant, within a tenth of a second after that information is presented, they've shut down their visual cortex. They've blocked out that information. Older adults do that, but a half of a second later, and that's too late. Once that information gets in the gate, it causes a degradation in the fidelity of the information that you're holding, and you don't remember it as well. So we know that distractions are a powerful force, and it is clearly something that magicians use quite frequently. By presenting you with the relevant information, decreasing your ability to focus your attention on what you're trying to focus on. And that's something that's used quite frequently. We're now going to move into the other major type of interference, known as multitasking, also interruptions.
I'd like to ask everyone to stand up, please. Stand up wherever you are. This frisbee is soft. Okay? I'm going to toss it out there and I'd like someone to catch it. Excellent. Everybody give your focus and attention to this person. I'd like you to toss it to somebody else. Whoever catches that, throw it to somebody else. Keep your focus on where the frisbee is in the room at all times. You can turn your bodies. And here's a second frisbee. I'd like you to try to keep your eyes and focus on both frisbees at the same time.
Now the bowling ball.
And now the bowling ball. The third frisbee. Don't launch it all the way across the room. Keep your focus and attention on it. And now toss them up here, please, and have a seat. The way I see the world. Oh, you want to talk about that? Yeah.
All right, so what you just experienced was some other major form of interference known as multitasking. So the chief difference between distractions and multitasking is that in distractions you have one goal and everything else is irrelevant and you're just trying to block it out. In multitasking, you think that you might be able to handle more than one goal at a time. In this case, handling the multiple streams of information of the frisbees around the room. And so we know that multitasking has even a bigger impact on your performance than distraction. And why multitasking is so impactful is that when you try to do more than one task at a time, for example, text and drive, we know that's not a good thing to do, you move your attention away from your primary goal towards a secondary goal. And then you have to reactivate the first goal when you move back. So what we now know is that how the brain works, for the most part, is that when you attempt to multitask, if those tasks demand attention, and we went over attention, top-down attention, using the prefrontal cortex, and there are more than one of them, you move between the tasks. You have to release your focus, disengage a network, re-engage a new network, disengage that one, and then re-engage the original one. That's what occurs. It occurs rapidly, but there's a cost. With each, what we call switch, there's a switch cost, and each of those time delays cause a degradation in your performance. So if you look at someone across the board, pretty much, working memory, long-term memory, decision-making, and you look at their performance while they do it alone, and then you look at their performance while they have another task going on at the same time, you almost invariably, and it doesn't matter whether you're 20, I know 20-year-olds think they're perfect at it, you will see a degradation in performance. And so it really raises some interesting questions. There are some reports now that show that modern technology is so clever at demanding multitasking that some, most of these studies are in younger adults, are using 6, 7, 8 forms of media at a single time. There was actually a pretty famous study published in 2009 from this campus, from Stanford, that shows that people that tend to interact with their environment in this way and multitask actually are worse at attention tasks when you bring them into the lab. So they do more poorly when they're in experiments that involve distraction. They do more poorly when they have to switch between tasks in laboratory experiments. Now, a lot of people might want to jump to the conclusion that interacting with your media in this way leads to that effect. But we don't know that, right? It's a correlational study. We know there's a relationship. As a matter of fact, what might be more likely, what I tend to think, is that if you have limitations in your attentional abilities in some way, or your ability to control your attention as you want to, which you would see in the lab as poor performance on those tests, you tend to multitask more and not shut down multiple streams of information. So it's something that we're still trying to tease apart. But we do know that this is a very powerful influence on your performance, and probably one of the favorite things that magicians will take advantage of by overloading the system with multiple streams of information, leading to a degradation of your primary goal of trying to figure out what that trick is, which is what you're trying to do.
So I feel magicians have an intuitive sense of where your attention is or your focus is. A lot of people call it misdirection, and I think that's not an accurate term. It's a awareness or focusing of your attention. The way I see the world, I started magic when I was 12, so I probably see the world like this more than magicians that started later. But I see the world as like a video screen or a TV screen or a film. I also do great filmmaking, so I kind of see that. I see a focus on it, and that focus moves around. I have an amazing awareness of where that focus is. There's gray areas that are not in the focus but still on the screen. That's where the sleight of hand, the misdirection, not misdirection, that's where the funny moves happen, the things that, the sleights, the secret business, the funny business. Let's try something, a little experiment. Oh, and the Frisbee experiments is kind of that. What I do is I send your focus to a lot of different places to the point where I see a gray area, and then I operate in that area. So now I'm going to kind of pull that together, the Frisbee thing, and where your focus and attention is, and try to create an illusion for you that uses those principles. I need to see how many people believe in fate. Fate? Fate. Anybody believe in predestiny or serendipity? Kismet? Okay. Let's try a little experiment with fate, predestiny, kismet, and serendipity. Let's get, I know, find her. I think I found her. Gray and black. Yes, you. Would you come up here, please? What's your name?
Meredith.
What's it?
Rhoda?
Meredith? I'm sorry. I couldn't hear.
Rhoda.
Rhoda?
Yeah, like a state. Rhoda.
Oh, Rhode Island? Rhoda?
Rhoda.
Oh, Rhoda! Okay, got it. Rhoda. Big round of applause for Rhoda, everyone. I was gazing the room and I caught a visual connection with you, so I thought we'd try a little experiment in the future, predicting the future of predestiny and fate. I need to borrow from someone I don't know. There's some people I know. I need to borrow an iPhone. Does anybody have an iPhone? Who's close that's got an iPhone? Can you unlock it, please? And then I'd like you to ask you to open up the calculator. It's often under utilities. You probably know where it is on your phone, yeah? And you've got the new operating system. Perfect. You got a big number there. Is it okay if I zero that out?
Yeah, that's fine.
So it's how much you tipped last night at dinner? Rhoda, I'm going to ask you some questions. What I'd like to do is, are you a student here, first of all?
Okay.
If anything I ask you is personal, you let me know. We'll figure out a way to keep it secret or private, okay? It's also being videotaped, so keep that in mind, okay? What I'd like to ask you to do is I'd like you to ask you to type in the year that you were born. You got it? Is it okay if I look? It's not personal. May I say it out loud? 1987. Young. What I'd like you to do is hit the X or the timer or the multiply. I'll turn this way so nobody in the audience sees what you write or type. And I'd like you to put in your shoe size, please. I'd like you to hit the times or the X again. I'd like you to take the phone from me. And this time, Rhoda, I'd like you to place in the last four of your social security number, please. You let me know when you've done that. Done that, Rhoda? Turn the phone so only you can see it. I'd like you to hit the equal sign, please. Is it a big number? Does it start with 4?
No.
Does it start with 6? Is it 6 million something? Would you say that number out loud? 652,442. We show everyone the phone? Does this number mean something to you? It doesn't? You don't recognize it or anything? This is your information. It was your birth year. Is that correct? Your shoe size, and your social security number. Do you have a phone on you? Would you grab it real quickly? I should have asked you to bring it up. Rhoda, we're going to call this number. She said, I'm scared. Come on up here, Rhoda. Turn on the phone and type in these numbers. You ready? To call 415. Yes. You're shaking. Okay, 415. 665 2442. 6,652,442. Hey, call. Put it up to your ear. Let me know if it rings. Are you single? What I want you to do is if someone answers, this is a souvenir, thanks for coming to the show. If someone answers, I want you to say, fate brought me to you. I think I love you. Okay. I have your phone number. That's weird. That's never happened before. What I want to talk. Do you mind if I take that a second? That brings it to the idea that magicians. We're going to talk about false memories in a moment, right? But what we do is we actually create the illusion that we can predict the future, see the future, that we can read a mind and all that. And intelligent people, this is a very intelligent group, are actually the easiest to trick. So I seem really amazing to you guys. What happens is, not smart people, I can't control their focus or attention, especially drunk people. They look away, they look back, and of course the $100 bill disappeared because they weren't paying attention. But if I can keep your focus and attention on the $100 bill, and you're predictable in your reaction to what I do, you're actually very easy to trick, and you're very, very susceptible to be fooled into thinking that someone can predict the future or read your mind or tell your fortune or look in tea leaves or something like that. They often, people who do that, are tricking or fooling people. They're con artists. They do that to take your money. But here's the other thing that's interesting. A lot of them aren't aware they're tricking themselves too. They believe it also. They're using the same tricks I'm using, plus intuition, plus using law of averages, plus using cold reading your body language, facial expressions, and gestures, and they actually trick themselves, and that they know that they're very, very intuitive, and that they feel that they actually can read your mind. So they're not necessarily lying to you, they're not necessarily bad people, but I don't believe that's real, because in all the times I've seen those people tested in real life, they've not stood up to the test of science. They're using the same methods as me, whether they know it or not.
Yeah, so we're going to just wrap up. We went through a lot today. Interference is so complex. I frequently give a lecture for an entire hour, but it's not just your perception and other aspects of how you interact with the world in the moment that is subject to interference, but also your memory. So there's an entire field of research looking at false memories. It's a very big issue in the legal world, where witnesses could swear, especially children, this has been shown, that they could swear that they've seen something that they had never been exposed to before. This is yet another type of interference that magicians have exploited. Do you want to?
Yeah, I was talking about that. So one of the things my job title will be is, I think we're wrapping up in 4 minutes and doing Q&A. My job title will be is to create false memories. And in my world of magic, there's a concept called dual reality, and I love this. I actually think there's 3 realities, or a trio of realities. The first reality is what physically actually happens. Okay? The second reality is what you perceive, and that's often, as you've seen today, very different than the reality. And then this is my favorite one, the third reality. This is what you take away with you and you remember later, and it's often way better than what actually happened here. I hear people that come back to me. I used to work cruise ships, and I'd put on shorts and a baseball cap after the show. They didn't recognize me. They'd be having lunch with me, and they would tell me my show and tell me all these amazing things that I did the night before that never actually really happened. Yes. And so I think I will end on that note. Do you have something else to say? Oh, I do have this. Do you mind? I'll burn through this quickly. It's a shorter list of interruptions. Magicians have I think I count about 40 ways that we interrupt that flow that you have to be able to recall memory accurately. And here's just a few that I'm picking out to highlight. The moment I say a joke, or you laugh, or there's humor, your gaze is upon me, but your attention is somewhere else. Your eyes are looking right at me, but you can't see that secret move that I do. I did that several times tonight. That's one of the ways I kind of hide my sleight of hand. Another way is conflicting and overloading instructions. If I give enough instructions that your brain goes inwards, and then I correct you and say, no, not that way, what suddenly happens is you go internal and go, what did I do wrong? Even though your gaze is upon me, your focus and your attention is somewhere completely different. That's the moment that I do the secret move. As you saw, the big motion covers the small motion, and eye contact. We have an empathic part of our brain that makes us mirror. And we see it all the time. We start nodding and people nod. We breathe. You guys breathe. If I don't breathe, I know. And the room could be 2 people or it could be 15,000 people. We're that empathic that I go. So I bring my focus to you, and I bring my attention here, and then I bring it back to here. That's where your focus stays. Let me wrap up with a few more. I like this one to wrap up with on this one. The moment the secret movements happen are often buried or hidden beyond innocent movements. Like if I were to just push my glasses on, or fix my jacket, or something like that looks awfully contextually perfect for the situation, that's when the secret move happens. So don't always trust the innocent little movements that are happening up here. Please.
Yeah, so just to close, hopefully we gave you a little glimpse inside how magic works, but also how the brain works. And one thing that, when we talk, this is a new interaction between us, it, I think, awakens this type of discussion and awareness about how the world around you is really an interpretation, right? It's not a stamp of reality. In many ways, how you interact with the world is art, right? And here it's being expressed in an extreme form, in an artistic expression as a performance. But all of your interactions in the world have this sort of magical quality, and that they're not just an imprint of reality, but they're expressed from your past and your experiences and your own interpretation.
And what I want the takeaway to be is life can be beauty, it can be art. It's there's what happens, how you perceive it, how you interpret it. So when you go out there and there's a lot of rain, you can look at it and say, oh darn, that's going to mean the roads are going to be dangerous and a lot of traffic and all that. You can say, oh, that's great for the flowers and there'll be rainbows and it's going to be beautiful. This is your life, this is your trip around the sun 80, 90 times. Figure out which interpretation you want, the beautiful one or the complaining, conflictual, nagging, negative one. Which one would you rather be around? So I would say look at world differently and make it your own beautiful art. Thank you.
Thank you everybody for coming to the event. As I'm sure you see, we got started a little bit late and we ran a little bit long. Normally it's our intention to do a full-fledged Q&A at these events, but for today we're just going to take 2 or 3 quick questions. If you have a burning question, please raise your hand. I'm going to specifically ask undergraduate students and women to volunteer questions, but we'll take from everybody. All right, there's a woman excited over here in the back. Go ahead, please shout your question.
I have a curiosity about what happens with the brain when you're meditating, when you're trying to clear away your thoughts.
I'll take that.
This is another long potential answer, so just to give it a very quick one, meditation is really essentially another form of attention. You could direct your attention outside or you could direct your attention inside. And so there's different types of meditation, but a very common one known as concentrated meditation is you pull your attention into a vision, your breath, a mantra, some type of words, and then you practice blocking out internal distraction. It relates to interference, it relates to attention. So it's very much in the scope of what we've talked about.
All right, another question, please. Let's see, we have some good hands up over here. Right over here, gentleman in the glasses.
So how do autistic people react to magic?
How do artistic people, autistic people, okay, I think this is actually an interesting, we talked a little bit about my experience, and I have to kind of file back, and hopefully it's not a false memory. My experience is, depends on their type of autism. If they have trouble focusing and new stuff, I can't keep their attention, and some of them get ultra focused and obsessed. And what I found is I taught a few autistic kids to juggle and to do magic, and they like the repetitive motions and all that. And what's nice about teaching them magic or juggling is now to their friends who look at them sometimes as not people who are fully capable and can participate in everything. Now they're super capable and they can do something that's beyond regular functioning kids, and also be able to actually trick and fool them. And when they ask them, please tell me how that's done, and with a lot of pride they say no, and they say, you know, why chromosome 21? They say, I would be stealing from you all this mystery, magic, wonder, and awe that you have right now, and I want you to have that gift forever. And they're now educating them on the value of the mystery and wonder, all that you get through magic. So depending on their autism, it can go very well.
Okay, maybe 1 or 2 more questions. Let's see, we have a woman over here in the back in the black hair, blue shirt. That's you.
Are some of these same methods used in stage hypnosis shows, or is it?
That's another thing, stage hypnosis. I don't know if you have anything on that. So stage hypnosis, it depends on if you believe in it completely. I mean, in my humble opinion, and I do not have a degree in that, and I've worked with upwards of 80 hypnotists in my life, my feeling is that the participants kind of get in a meditative state, they get in a creative state, they want to say yes, and they want to participate, and they're doing things that they would already do in front of an audience. So if you take somebody who would never cluck like a chicken in front of an audience, they won't do it on the stage of hypnosis, which is kind of just a relaxed state, a creative state. And then the people who don't participate, they send back, and what they leave are the very suggestible ones, who all the way to the point of take off your clothes and run around the stage naked. Some people will actually do that. Their inhibitions are completely void of that, and they will do that. But if you say to somebody who wouldn't do that, take off your clothes and run on stage, you snap out of it. You now come to that focused part where you're thinking and reasoning.
I don't know so much in particular about it, but we have many different states of consciousness. The two most common are wakefulness and sleep, but they are not the only ones that we have. And hypnosis is essentially like an art form that allows people to rapidly get into another state where it's maybe somewhere in between, and they're very frequently suggestible.
All right, maybe one more question, especially strong if it's coming from a student.
This guy's
All right, this guy's been excited. Fair enough. We got one.
Yeah. So at the Exploratorium a few years ago, they had an exhibit where they had a street scene, and they would very, very quickly go to black, and something would change in the street scene. You couldn't tell what had changed. But if you removed the black in between, you could see these. You talk about continuity and field perception.
Yeah, so when we talked about interference before, I call them multitasking, sometimes it's called interruptions. Even very brief interruptions that disrupt a sensory perception can cause interference and something known as change blindness, which is what that's called, where it could be quite obvious and you don't see it because you're being interrupted by changing the screen. Even a blink or saccade, which is an eye movement, when you move your eyes and jump from point to point, you actually can't see. And so when you do that, you lose the perception and you don't see the difference. There's another related form of blindness called inattentional blindness, which is when your focus is so strong on something that you can't see something else that is occurring right in front of you. And then you don't need to have an interruption or break. A classic famous example of that is the gorilla and basketball, which you're probably familiar with. And so those types of illusions essentially are related to exactly what we said, top down the limits of attention.
Yeah, and magicians create that artificial blink often. It could be, that, you kind of move back, a question, making eye contact, laughing, smiling, correcting, all those things, is that same black cloth, but artificially created by a magician.
Okay, everybody, I think that's it for questions. So let's give a big hand.